Let's learn something new today that's deeply needed in our present era of chaos, instability, and upheaval. Seems like it's all around. In fact, if asked to describe our current times, I would say they can be summed up in two words: hot and bothered. It seems the world is a massive conflict management issue, continual cycle of fight or flight. But the good news, we don't have to join in. Think about the last time a conflict with someone you cared about left you feeling deflated, confused, and a bit off balance. Well, maybe you shut down or acted like nothing happened. Maybe you overreacted. Maybe you spoke too soon and said too much. Either way, the relationship felt a little more fragile. And guess what? You felt disconnected. Being disconnected, this is the hallmark of conflict. When you disconnect, there is a problem. What if instead of drifting apart, you knew how to step closer, building connection, even in moments of tension? That's the core driving force of relationship intelligence. Understanding how people are connected to, behave toward, and interact with one another. I love lyrically how that sounds, understanding how people are connected to, behave toward, and interact with one another. Sounds like something that'd be worth learning. Altogether, I think this sounds amazing, and I hope you agree. So welcome back to the Rethink Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. David Zierk. This podcast is where we step back, pause, and explore smarter, more connected ways to lead and live by thinking with connection in mind, which is exactly what is meant by the word rethink. Relationship-enhanced thinking. Rethinking both your connection to yourself and others. When we rethink, it's that ability to pause. Instead of acting on the first thing we think, we stop, we pause, and we rethink. And we rethink with connection in mind. It's kind of like taking a second bite of an apple. On this episode of the Rethink Podcast, we're exploring how to simply turn conflict into connection. That's a phrase I use all of the time. And I wanted to kind of go back to the basics and really help people understand where relationship intelligence came from and why I think it's so paramount in terms of helping us defuse the tension that seems to be all around us. So to get things started, it's to know that we're all born with a capacity for relationships, but not everyone learns how to be relationally intelligent. That's not my way of putting anyone down, but I just love that thought. We're all born with a capacity for relationships, but not everyone learns how to be relationally intelligent. That's my way of saying we have to learn how to turn conflict into connection. We have to paradigm shift and gain a different relationship with the word conflict. We have to begin realizing that we have options in the room. When conflict enters into the room, we don't have to run. We don't have to fight. We have other options. Now, true relationship intelligence, or what I call r.IQ, is about more than social skills. And it's deeper than emotional intelligence, which are both very important. I teach social skills and emotional intelligence all of the time in my clinic. But relationship intelligence, it's about understanding yourself, about being curious about the others, and navigating conflict in ways that strengthen rather than strain connections. So I just want you to know, emotional intelligence is important to be aware of what's the emotional signal that you're experiencing and what others might be experiencing. That'll give you critical insight. But then what to do about that and how to either patch what is broken or to step back into it with courage without being outrageous. So when done well, relationship intelligence builds trust. What's more, it reveals truth, reinforces commitment, while inviting intimacy. Now that's an amazing promise, I realize. I want you to know intimacy, I define it as a special closeness between and among people, that it needs to be recognized that intimacy is the ultimate prize for being your true self. See, to me, intimacy is the experience of feeling like you belong. You're given an allowance to be yourself, and in doing so, it makes you feel special. This is why intimacy is the ultimate prize for being a good person, for investing in personal growth and development, for being curious rather than judgmental, and my list goes on. But all of my thoughts revolve around the overall umbrella concept of relationship intelligence. Now, the challenge is clear. When safety, support, validation, or healthy challenges are missing, relationships break down every time. So let's roll up the sleeves and dive right into this model. My framework boils relationship intelligence into 4 building blocks. So I just went to my whiteboard. You'll see relationship intelligence with a line with 4 dots. We're going to populate each one of those dots. There's going to be words above that line and below that line. And once we really populate this model, it'll give you a great starting point of how relationship intelligence can really effectively turn conflict into connection. These are what I call the building blocks. Now, each one relies on the presence of the other before it to be established. So there is an order to my madness. So first and foremost is safety. I'm just going to write the word safe. Creating an environment where people feel secure enough to be vulnerable, which opens doors then to authenticity. Now, what's fascinating is the opposite of safety is being unsafe. So I'm just going to put the abbreviated word un below it. There's safety above it. We'll put a positive sign up here and negative down here. So we're creating a continuum, building blocks of relationship intelligence, positive and negative. We always go back to the first building block, which is safety. The opposite of safety is feeling unsafe. And you'll know that you're feeling unsafe when you begin to feel saturated by fear, which is the most primal and dysregulating human emotion. It's probably the most primal emotion for lizards too, but we're not talking about that today. The litmus test for measuring when you're feeling unsafe is loneliness. That's right. When you feel alone in the world and without protection, by definition, you're unsafe. It can't be overstated how vital it is to ensure safety. It's both primal and non-negotiable. So in workplaces, for instance, I never assume it. In my clinic situation, I never assume it. When I'm teaching people how to effectively recalibrate their marriage or trying to get families to function better than ever before, I always say, let's go back to safety. Let's do a check-in. We don't necessarily have to directly ask, do you feel safe? They might just placate you and say, yes, of course. But I want you to really see if a person's in a comfortable place, if whether or not they have the willingness to be somewhat vulnerable. When vulnerability begins to show up, that's a clue that person is sitting in safety. Again, remember, safety is both primal and non-negotiable. An effective strategy for assuring safety involves forming what I call a listening partnership, where you stay focused on understanding what is being said and remain curious about what hasn't yet been said. It calls for embracing the process of quiet curiosity, wordless connection, and empathic resonance. So there it is. You and the other person are in the room. The person is talking, beginning to open up, and you really emphasize the empathic resonance. You really try to feel what the other person's feeling. You make a wordless connection. Maybe you lean forward. Maybe you nod like you understand what's going on. But either way, you are making a connection. There's no confrontation. You're making a safe connection. Now, you just might be amazed at the power of silence, which is rewarding beyond words. So there's safety. I hope I underscored it, highlighted the importance of safety enough for us always to go back to that place. Also, it gives you permission not to act. Say, I'm listening. Tell me more. You're inviting a person to really feel secure in that safe spot that you co-created with them. So let's move forward. The next one is support. The person feels safe. And now we're going to be shifting our focus to support. Now, this is where we begin to show up actively with empathy and encouragement without needing to fix anything. True support involves being present, showing compassion, and respecting the other person's needs and feelings. This is where active curiosity comes into play. This is where you could do your best guess. This is where you can say, I feel your pain. Or this sounds like something I've been through. Can you tell me more about that? And you're more active than in the safety context. Now you're really providing support. This is visible support. You're using your words for connection. You're offering a person basically a lifeline to connect with their discomfort, their pain. That's the power of support. And support fosters a sense of connection and reassurance that the person is not alone in their journey. Now, I enjoy reminding people that life is hard, and it's hard for everyone. And the easiest way to make life harder is to do it alone. There's many of us that turn into our rugged individualism. Say, I'm okay, I'm fine, push people away. Asking for and kindly receiving support is critical for giving you much deserved strength. So it's my way of saying, when a person is present and supporting you, instead of pushing it off, instead of placating them, instead of like mollifying it, you step into it and you go, it really means a lot that you're here, that you're listening. It really means a lot that you get me. Now we went from safety to support. And what you understand, it's like a braided context where the connection is getting stronger and stronger and stronger, from safety to support. But there's more. The third building block of relationship intelligence is validation. So I'll just put the word valid. Validation. This is a tricky building block because we can manufacture validation, but oftentimes people know the difference between genuine and disingenuous validation. So validation is recognizing and respecting someone's inner world, their thoughts, their beliefs, their feelings, even if you don't agree or understand. Now that's critically important. It's their world. It's their roadmap. We're trying to be curious of stepping into their world and understand how difficult it can be. We've already effectively made them feel safe, allowed them to feel safe. We've supported them with active presence. Now we're validating. Now, what's fascinating about validation, it's like an elixir. It's the psychological equivalent of like a sugar rush, that quick burst of energy that's so addictive because it's so short-lived. Now, validation comes in different forms. We can give people attention, affection, acknowledgement, approval, and applause. Those are the 5 things in previous podcasts that we've gone over. The 5 forms of validations that we need, want, desire, and deserve that we can't give ourselves, that we're hoping to receive from other people. And when we do, You guessed it, that connection, it even is stronger. These are those sweet, intoxicating hits of affirmation that restore self-worth. One of the things I like to do when I'm in my clinic, whether it's a forensic evaluation or even with a long-established client, I like to say every once in a while, can I give you some feedback of what it's like to be in the room with you? Now, people are a little bit taken back by that, but they always accept the invitation. Yes, please tell me what it's like to be in the room with me. It's like holding up a mirror. I'm leading with validation. I find you relatable. I find you approachable. I find you comfortably confident. I find your curiosity to be courageous and contagious. Now, by offering those forms of validation, which come from my exploration of how I really am experiencing them, the person feels the authenticity of that. It's clearly genuine. The feedback that they receive, what we've just done, we've established an almost unbreakable bond with each other. That person is beginning to trust you more before your validation than after. Now, validations aren't just nice. They're addictive because it gives you a much-deserved break from the messy, confusing process of self-assessment. And I think that's why so many people really take my invitation. Can I tell you what it's like to be in the room with you? Because so many times I think we get lost in the fog of self-assessment. Am I strong enough? Am I big enough? Am I enough? And that inner critic during our self-assessment process, well, it really dilutes the quality of truth, of who you really are. And that's the reason why validations, when they come forward and delivered with authenticity, it dispels a person from the necessity for self-assessment, allows them to relax and lean into the feedback that they just receive. So in a sense, if you could hear what they cannot say is, oh my gosh, it feels so good. You experience me the way I experience me. That's a connection. So ask people, why struggle with the never-ending task of self-validation when someone else can give you a thumbs up? It's like receiving a quick receipt. It's lightning quick and it's automatic. When you're validated for what you do, how you do it, or merely who you are, in that moment, life is good. And the connection with the other person grows stronger and again, more trustworthy. I call trust square one. It's where everything begins and ends. There is no relationship without trust. And validation, as long as the person feels safe and supported, they can receive the validation that you receive. Remember I said, these are building blocks that depend on each other. In order to really restore trust or build trust, safety, support, and now validation comes into play. Now, the two greatest forms of validation, I just put the cards on the table. It's being understood and being treated respectfully. There it is. Being treated in such a way that you feel respected and understood. It's a nice gift to receive from other people. And what's interesting, in the wake of a validation, stress dissipates, leaving you with a sense of worth. When validation is received, especially when it's really needed, you gain confidence in the other person's capacity to understand you. In turn, a deep connection is made, and that trust I keep talking about, it's strengthened. Now, this is not a bad return on investment for such a readily accessible but too often bypassed relationship skill. Yep. Providing affirming feedback during times when the person is feeling vulnerable is a powerful component of relationship intelligence. So, by the way, the two most destructive forms of invalidation, because on the other side, I didn't finish my model. Let me go back to it. I apologize for that. The opposite of support is feeling alone, which then drives you back into a place of being unsafe. The opposite of validation is being invalidated. And the two most destructive forms of invalidation, if we took what I said before, being treated respectfully and being understood, and we invert that, that's what the most two destructive forms of invalidations are, is being misunderstood and being mistreated, being treated disrespectfully or in an unloving fashion. So now we have three building blocks supporting each other. And when safety, support, and validation are established, the relationship is strong enough to cross over into an amazing territory. So I'm going to draw a dashed line here, just to the right of validation. This is where all personal growth and development begin. A person feels safe, they're supported, they're validated. They're in the upper side of the line, not in the lower section of the line. And now we step into personal growth and development by being challenged. So if you're really interested in your personal growth and development or helping someone else with their personal growth and development, let me explain this fourth building block of challenge. Inviting growth by yourself or others through constructive feedback, shared goals, and mutual gain, that's the key. Again, I want to reassert, when a person feels safe, supported, and validated, they're in a sweet spot and they're ready to be challenged. Challenging someone in a respectful way allows for honest conversations while maintaining the trust, cooperation, and of course, that vital connection. This requires empathy, clear communication, and a focus on solutions while keeping mutuality in mind. A solution that's not supported or guided by mutuality, that begins to erode the connection. Kind of puts you in an high and mighty role that you know more than they do. Kind of a one-up position. So finding solutions while keeping mutuality in mind, really key to success. So just like a coach giving a pep talk to boost the player's game, that's a challenge. Or a parent cheering on their child to a better version of themselves, that's a challenge. This challenge sees the person's potential to grow, believes in their upsides, and keeps them honest about what they do. Now remember, being challenged and challenging others in mutually beneficial ways is the heart and soul of relationship intelligence. In fact, it's the most important and potent ingredient. Only when we're challenged do we grow. Now, I'm not here to ever put down standard therapy. It's useful, it's helpful, it's vital. But in my experience, lots of therapy is really good at keeping people safe, supported, and validated, and kind of stops there. It lounges there. And I really do believe that once you've established those first three building blocks, an incredible door opens up where you can begin challenging that person. I often like to say in my therapy, my job is to challenge you. And I know that you're beginning to get to the end of our therapeutic journey when you begin challenging me, when you begin challenging me to become a better therapist for you. Again, only when we're challenged do we grow. But to grow requires a trusting relationship, which is strengthened by effective communication, which cannot occur until a healthy connection is mutually established. That's why I say turning conflict into connection requires thinking with connection in mind. Think about how the world becomes a better place when we challenge people to work together. When we challenge each other's beliefs and convictions, and we do it respectfully. When we challenge ourselves to have provocative and respectful dialogue. Or when we challenge the status quo. when we collaboratively redefine normal, which makes us stronger together. You see how the challenge is the elixir? It's the process for personal growth and development, and even community development. In the end, when the 4 building blocks of safety, support, validation, and challenge are present, relationships flourish. One of the vital mistakes that we make when we're challenging an individual, when we challenge an individual without those 3 previous building blocks of safety, support, and validation, the person is not ready to be challenged, or we go too far and we push the person too hard with the challenge. The person then moves towards self-doubt. No, we're trying to improve confidence. We're trying to get them to step into their true self, to reveal their truth through vulnerability. By doing so, that helps them to help us flourish the relationship. When these building blocks are absent, you see the opposite. You see your fear and loneliness, invalidation, and then there's their self-doubt again. Let me bring this to life with an example. Picture a team that just missed a major deadline. One leader responds with blame and criticism, leaving the group feeling unsafe and unsupported. Another leader applies relationship intelligence. First, acknowledges the stress everyone is under. That's validation. Then she reassures the team they'll face it together. That's support. Finally, she asks tough but fair questions about what could improve next time. That's the challenge. By combining all 4 building blocks step by step, she not only repairs the moment, but builds trust for the future and creates an inviting culture for people to stay in and want to come back to. So here's our call to action. This week, try practicing 1 building block or more and doing it intentionally. In a meeting, create safety by setting ground rules for mutual respect. That's a beautiful way of creating safety and doing it openly and honestly, setting ground rules for mutual respect. It can even be done playfully. When a person crosses a line and they're moving towards something that sounded a little disrespectful, we can just say, hey, I'll tell you what, it's too early right now to cross lines. Let's get back to our mutual respect. In a conversation, listen actively and offer support with genuine encouragement. You'll be surprised when you begin to practice quiet leadership, how those opportunities to offer support with genuine encouragement, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of opportunities. And also then with a colleague, practice validation by naming and affirming their perspective. I think that's a type of validation that globally, nationally, regionally, locally, we need to practice by affirming other people's perspective and stopping there, not adding to it, not course correcting it, just affirming their perspective. Not too long ago, a person was talking in my clinic, and they were saying something with, I knew it was a self-declaration, but the way they were saying it with such velocity, I knew that was a strong belief. Now, it countered my belief system, but that's neither here nor there. But what I did is I leaned in and I said, I love your conviction. I love how strongly you hold on to your belief system. In your family, do other people respect that grip on your beliefs the way I do? I'm challenging them. Certainly validated their strength of their perspective, but then I challenged them. That was done because we had developed an alliance. The person felt safe and supported. I validated them genuinely, authentically, and then I shifted into that challenge. It can be done very gracefully. Speaking of that, with someone you trust, challenge them to grow and welcoming the same in return. How can I become a better boss? What could I have done better last week? What were you expecting me to do that I didn't do? Requesting feedback. Small steps in each area add up to a stronger, more relationally intelligent you and a relationally intelligent culture. And I think that's the ultimate outcome here. So relationship intelligence doesn't happen by accident. It happens step by step as you build safety, support, validation, and challenge into the way you show up. So it's learning how to embed these principles, these building blocks, and walking through them one by one with intentionality. And when you do, conflict becomes less about breaking down and more about breaking through. I'd like to invite you to visit davidzierk.com to sign up for our newsletter called Refresh, or download resources, read a blog or two, and learn more from my quizzes and speaker topics. You can also get quick tips about relationship intelligence on YouTube and Instagram. Until next time, keep rethinking how relationship intelligence can help you, how it can help you turn conflict into connection. This has been a lot of fun. Thanks for listening and learning.